All right. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you're listening to the Shumake Take. And today we got to talk about my predictions for the NFC teams, for all 16 NFC teams. And before we do that, we got to do some. I'm going to call this segment at the beginning of the show now. I'm going to call it housekeeping. We got to do some housekeeping. So I was going to do content after the draft and throughout the offseason, and I didn't. Why? Well, first things first, the podcast at first was a class for USF, or I was taking a social media class at USF and making a YouTube channel / podcast was one of the options I could have done, and that's what I did. I chose to do that because I love talking about football. I love the game. That's all obvious, right? But after that last Rants 4 was done, I decided that I wanted to lock in. I wanted to finish college, and I did. I finished college. I've done graduated. I graduated as of August 1st, so I'm officially a guy with a bachelor's degree in mass communications. So that's pretty awesome. That's really fun. And then I also spent that time working on myself. I changed my diet. I started exercising more, and I've lost some weight, and I feel so much better. And it's crazy. Like if you guys are feeling bad about yourselves, like diet wise, it's really like at first it was a little bit challenging, but it really isn't that hard to change your diet because all I did was I cut out sugar, I limited my carbs and my fats, and I started eating more protein and exercising more, and the pounds have melted right off. And I've lost probably about 20 pounds in 9 weeks, and I feel great. I feel so much better than I have before. I look better. I feel more confident about myself, and just changing your diet does so much for you, and just walking. That's literally all I've done for exercise, just walking 45 minutes a day. And of course that's not including where I work. I work in fast food, so running around that also helps. But taking just 40 minutes to an hour out of your day just to walk, even 30 minutes, just to walk and get some exercise, oh, it does wonders for your health. You just make these little itty bitty changes, and it does a lot of stuff. But we're not here to talk about dieting. We're not here to talk about nutrition. Maybe some other episode. Possibly. Once I lose more weight, and then maybe I'll talk more about it. But today we got to talk about the NFC and my schedule predictions for each one. Now, I'm going to do the same thing for the AFC. I'm probably just going to jump right into it because I'm going to record it right after. And then I got Rants 5. I'm going to record immediately after this. So I'm going to record 3 videos back to back to back. So it's going to be a little challenging. I got my water this time, and I got my script here on my laptop. So it's going to be whenever I have to change the team, I'm going to have to pop one of those and change it. And also, as you can tell, my mic is going to be a little bit different quality-wise because I'm using this one, and the audio quality is probably going to fluctuate just a little bit as I'm talking because just natural movement. But bear with me. I'm in Tennessee right now on vacation, so we're doing the best we can. We're gonna figure this thing out. But quick disclaimer before we get into this list. This isn't like this list is strictly just before the season happens. So how I do schedule predictions, so I do one big one before the season starts, and then when the season does start, maybe the first couple games I'll keep my picks the same, but then I'll pick each game as each week goes on because maybe there's a team here that I have starting 0-3, and maybe they start 2-0 the first couple weeks. I'll be more inclined to pick them to win the next game compared to just automatically pick them to lose, right? So there's that. And also, a lot of these are pretty conservative, I would say. There's a couple hot takes in here. Like, there's actually going to be a few right off the bat, starting with the NFC North. But we can discuss. It's open to discussion. The thing is, like, I'm not going to be a stickler about it. Like, if I think this team's going to finish with this, a lot of it might be just because there might be too many wins to go around, or I may not believe. But at the same time, I'm open to changes. I know at least 3 of these are going to be very wrong. There's always surprise teams. There's always disappointing teams. So enough of talking. Let me drink some water. Good to go. I brushed my teeth this morning and brushed my mouth out, so my mouth gets really dry. So I'm probably going to have to drink a lot of water for the show for it to go through. But we're going to talk about the NFC North. We've got to talk about the Lions. The Detroit Lions, I'm going to have them going 13-4. Now, that's a crazy prediction because if I would have told you that 10 years ago, you would have laughed in my face, and rightfully so. But here's the thing. This Lions season is going to come down to one word: vengeance. They lost that NFC Championship game. They blew it. They had a lead and they blew it. And now this team that's tough, physical, smash mouth, this team that's already, in your face. Now they're going to be that same philosophy in your face. But now they're pissed. Really pissed. And here's the thing. Dan Campbell and the Lions, they always overcome adversity. They're a team that whenever adversity strikes, they rise above it. They rise from the ashes like a freaking phoenix. And so I have every reason to believe that they're going to come back better just from a philosophy standpoint. But it's not just philosophy. First thing first, their offense is still the same. Technically, I think it's going to get better. Offensive pieces, I should say, are still the same. You re-signed Jared Goff to a big extension. You have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs coming back. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gave a big contract too. Jameson Williams is coming back. You did lose Josh Reynolds, which that hurts. I'm pretty sure Khalif Raymond is still there as well. I think he may have left as well. So your receiver depth kind of took a shot, but your big guy, but your number one, your number two is still there. And then you have Sam Laporta coming back at tight end. Your offensive line is still top 3 in the league. Penei Sewell just got paid. Good for him. And the thing is, this team, I think this offense is blah. It's going to get better because guys like Jameson Williams, guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta especially, those two guys specifically going into year 2, I think this offense is going to get better. I think it has every potential to, and I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't. Especially because Ben Johnson is coming back as well. He had agreed to become the Commanders' new head coach, but then he backed out last minute. So I have no reason to believe that this offense is not going to perform better. And the next thing is that their defense is improved. Not by much, but I think they still have their DC, Aaron Glenn. I could be wrong on that. Someone tell me in the comments. But overall, their defense is, I would say, it's gotten better because they did draft Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rackstraw in the draft with their first and second picks, respectively. And those players I really, really like. I thought Terrion Arnold was the best corner in the draft, as a prospect-wise. And I thought Ennis Rackstraw could have been a first-round talent. And he ended up going in the second, which that could be a steal. I really like that pick. I like both picks, like I said. But I think this defense is probably going to start out a little rough. I think they're going to have some rough patches, especially in that secondary with those two guys, learning how to play the game and play at full speed against other starters. But I think later on, as the season goes on, they're going to get better. They're going to improve. And we're going to see this team just get that much more dominant as the year goes on. But I have the Lions finishing 13-4. Oh, yeah, I forgot one more point. Compared to the other top teams in the NFC, they didn't really they don't have any contract issues. They don't have any drama. There's not or any significant regression at any point. So looking at the other top teams, which we'll get to, they didn't really lose anything. So overall, why can't you root for the Lions to go 13-4? What reason is there to believe that the Lions can't go 13-4? There's a clock dinging. If you can hear that, I am sorry. But we got to keep going. But overall, that's why I think the Lions are going to go 13-4. Because they're going to come back with a vengeance. Their offense is going to get better. Their defense, I like the pieces that they drafted, and I think it's going to have a little bit of improvement at least. And compared to the other top teams in their conference, they didn't really regress. They don't have any issues. So, Lions 13-4, number 1 seed in the NFC. Book it. Now we got to get to the Green Bay Packers. And the Green Bay Packers, this one, I got this team going 11-6. Now, before Packers fans come after me, here's the deal. Jordan Love, I'm not sold on Jordan Love. Not in a bad way that I don't believe in Jordan Love. But I'm still in wait and see mode. Because Jordan Love played 1 year. He had 1 year, and for only half of it, he was good. The second half, which, sure, the first half was bad, second half was good. He finished off strong, and they made the playoffs, and they destroyed the Cowboys in the playoffs, which, good. That's really good. That's what you like to see. But you just got paid. If you're Jordan Love, you just got paid to be you're tied for the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. After one season starting and not even the full season, you were good. You better start playing like a top 3 quarterback, like you're paid. And I don't think he will. Now, that's not a bad thing. I don't think he has to be. But the thing is, he's going to have to step up. And will he step up? I'm confident that he will, but likewise, I'm still in wait and see. And, I'm waiting to see what happens. And along with him, one offensive player is going to have to step up. Whether it's Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dubes, one of the tight ends. I mean, someone's going to have to step up. The running game, I'm not going to be too worried about. They signed Josh Jacobs. They have A.J. Dillon. I'm not stressing about that. But one of those receivers, one of those tight ends, someone's going to have to step up. Because I don't think any receiver broke 800 yards. If one of them broke 800, none of them broke 900. And that's a fact. So one of those guys is going to have to play better. If the Packers want to reach 11 wins or higher, or if Jordan Love wants to reach that MVP level season that people are projecting him to have, one of those guys is going to have a breakout year and step up along with him. And the next thing, too, why the Packers are going 11-6, and why I'm a little bit more conservative on it, is they have a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Haley, out of Boston College. And they had a couple new pieces, like Xavier McKinney at safety. I thought that was a really big move considering how bad their secondary was last year outside of Jair Alexander. But, it's a new DC, it's a new system. It's going to take some time to gel. And I'm going to say that a lot with a lot of teams that have new coordinators or new head coaches, that, a lot of these things take time to gel. And I think early on there might be a couple hiccups here and there. But honestly, I don't think the defense even needs to be good. If they can be average, if they can just be average and get good play out of their top players like Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, and Rashawn Gary, for example, like Preston Smith, if they can get good production out of their top players, at least, I think the floor for this team is probably 11 wins. The floor is probably 11 wins. And like I said, this is probably a conservative prediction, but I don't have reason to fully buy into the Packers just yet. But if they start winning a ton of games and they start going nuts, I'll be more inclined to believe it. Probably going to have to drink water after every talking point. All right, Chicago Bears, 8-9. Now, before Chicago Bears come after me, I have the Chicago Bears going 8-9 for two big reasons. The first one is Caleb Williams. Okay, he's going into the best situation a rookie quarterback's probably ever had. Great offensive weapons, offensive line. It's going to be at least average at most. I like their tackles. But here's the thing. Caleb Williams is still a rookie. And what we saw last year from C.J. Stroud, that is very rare. That is very rare for a rookie quarterback to come in and do as well as he did. Now, I'm not saying Caleb Williams can't do that. I'm just acknowledging that that's a rare occurrence, and the odds of it not happening or the odds of it happening are unlikely. And like I said, he's still a rookie. There's things he's gonna learn. He's gonna have some struggles. He's gonna have some things to iron out. Nothing. Success doesn't immediately happen in the NFL. You may put up a ton of stats and be good as a rookie, but you're still working to get better. Like, there's always things you can do. And that's just going to take some time. And the next big point is Matt Eberflus. He should have been fired. I don't know why the Chicago Bears, if you're a fan of Matt Eberflus, if you're a Bears fan that's a fan of Matt Eberflus, hey, tell me in the comments why you think I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure most Bears fans wanted Matt Eberflus gone. Because first things first, he had such a bad tenure with the Chicago Bears until the second half of last year. They traded for Montez Sweat. The defense got a lot better, and the Bears started winning some games, and they finished 7-10, I think. So it's like, I don't know. Like, do you rely on a small handful of good games, or do you want to rely on the big sample size of bad games where the team looked poorly coached? The team wasn't looking good. Offense specifically was not good. The defense was not good. As a defensive head coach, that you got to have your defense be good, at least. But the big thing, too, is, they have a defensive head coach, and they drafted Caleb Williams first overall. Why didn't you fire Matt Eberflus and go get an offensive head coach and maximize that guy's potential? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm going to say that about Washington. I'm going to say that about New England. They all have defensive head coaches, and they drafted young quarterbacks. Like, I do not understand why you would not get an offensive head coach if you're going to draft a young quarterback? I don't get it. I simply don't get it. That's going to be a rant at one point. I'm going to have to. But along with that, I do like the signing of Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator. I thought Luke Getsy was straight up awful, and you get a guy who's worked with a great trio of receivers out in Seattle. You got a guy who helped revive the career of Geno Smith, and now he's got the task of developing one of the most talented quarterback prospects we've ever seen come out of college. And I think with the offensive pieces around him, it's going to take some time to gel, but I think this offense is going to be really good in year one. I think they're going to be a top. They're definitely going to be a top 16 offense. Will they finish top 10? I'm inclined to believe it. They probably will. They'll probably finish 10th or 9th at the end of the year. But I'm excited to see what they can do. But I think it's just with the defense. The defense I'm not fully sold on. I know the defense played well last year, but pieces-wise, I think they still have some holes they need to fill. And I think the defense is going to hold this team back a little bit. But the offense, I don't think the offense is going to be the issue at all in Chicago. But here's the thing. Overall, it's just going to take time. It's not going to change overnight. That's the biggest takeaway I have for the Chicago Bears finishing 8 and 9. Probably it's another conservative pick, and this one is one I'd pick. I could definitely be wrong on. But for now, Chicago 8 and 9. Caleb Williams, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Book it. All right, now we got to get to probably the hottest take of this one. The Vikings, of course, saving the best for last. Well, worst for last. I have them finishing 7 and 10, and I'm probably selling this one really short. But let's acknowledge what the Vikings have done well, or what at least I think they'll do well. They have a good offense. Sam Darnold is, well, we'll get to the quarterback situation in a second. They drafted J.J. McCarthy, 11th overall, and they signed Alex Jones. They signed Aaron Jones. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot his name. Sorry. But they signed Aaron Jones. He's a good player. Justin Jefferson is back. Jordan Addison is back. They have T.J. Hawkinson. He's back. The offensive line is decent. I mean, the offense overall is pretty good. Like it's going to be a good offense, you would think. And then you have your defense, which, yeah, Brian Flores back as DC, but this is my first issue. This defense has holes. This defense has plenty of holes, and especially at edge, oh my God, it was so bad last year. But you know what? They signed Jonathan Grenard. They drafted Dallas Turner, and that deserves some credit. But linebackers and secondary have some spots that I don't feel very confident about. And then we got to circle all the way back to the start, to the quarterback situation. And simply put, like, I'm not inclined to believe in Sam Darnold. I know he's improved. I know that he's not the same Sam Darnold he was with the Jets. But, you know, there's a reason why you got Sam Darnold to play for you, because he's a bridge quarterback. He's a guy, and there's a reason why you drafted, Okay, just somebody walking. Sorry. But there's a reason why you drafted J.J. McCarthy. Because, you know, you signed Sam Darnold and you drafted J.J. Like, there's a reason why. Because you want to get a young quarterback to come in there and win. Like, if you thought Sam Darnold was going to be your franchise guy, which you shouldn't, you know, you wouldn't have done that. And, of course, you know, I'm sure everybody knew that Sam Darnold was going to be the rich quarterback. I'm not saying, like, oh, some people thought he wouldn't be. But I just can't buy into Sam Darnold. I can't. Until he proves me wrong, I can't. Even though, like, he's played better with the 49ers, you know, every quarterback that plays on the 49ers plays well. Because Kyle Shanahan, the offensive system is great. So we'll see. And they could win 9-10 games. I've seen some Vikings media outlets project that. But I've also seen some project 8 and 9. So I guess it's all about perspective of how much you believe in Sam Darnold and how much you believe in this defense already. But for me, I'm not buying in just yet. But we'll just have to see. Minnesota Vikings 7 and 10 overall. Division, it has the potential to be really good and a lot better than I'm projecting it to be. But honestly, it's just going to be a matter of which team's going to be the odd one out. And right now, the team with the worst QB situation is the team that I'm going to have them be the odd one out. That's probably blasted the mic right there. We got to get to the NFC South. We're going through this a lot slower than I thought, but I think that's okay. I think we're fine. First video recorded in months, and we're doing all right. We got to get to the Atlanta Falcons, who I have winning the NFC South, and I have them going 9-8, 9-8. And this one, I actually have a strong belief for. So the first thing is that Kirk Cousins, I have them coming. I think I have them starting like 1-4 or something like that. I have to go back and look at my schedule prediction specifically to see. But the thing is, Kirk Cousins is coming off of a torn Achilles, and here's the deal: players that suffer torn ACLs or suffer torn Achilles, that first year when they come back, it's all about just playing, learning how to play at game speed. It's learning how to play football again at a normal rate. And Kirk Cousins is going to start off slow. I think he's not going to be as good. The narrative's going to come out that, oh, they overpaid Kirk Cousins and now he's not playing good. And it's like, well, of course not. He's coming back from an injury and he's trying to figure that out. But the Falcons are going to be one of those teams that's going to get better as the year goes on, because even though Kirk Cousins will come off slowly, I think they still have great offensive weapons. They have a top 5 offensive line. Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They signed Darnell Mooney, who I kind of like as a wide receiver too. We'll see with a better offense. Along with that, and also I like the offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. They got him from the Rams. I can't remember what position he was at, but you get a nice young offensive mind to help build this offense, and hopefully, we're going to see these pieces that they have. London, Pitts, Robinson. Hopefully, we're going to actually see them be used this time around instead of, oh, Bijan Robinson's a decoy blocker. Oh, Kyle Pitts the blocker, and then Drake London's just running route to get other people open. We're going to actually see these pieces get used, and as the season goes on, this offense could be one that's really, really fun to watch. And the big thing here is this is their division to lose. I thought that, we'll get into it later, but I thought Tampa, slightly regressed. Maybe not slightly regressed, but too much. But more about how much better the Falcons got, in my opinion, on offense, adding Kirk Cousins. But the Panthers got better, but I don't think they did by much. And the Saints, I think this is the end for the Saints. But we're going to get all that in here in a little bit. But the big thing here with the Falcons is why I also think they're going to go 9-8 is that the defense was good last year. It was sneakily good, but they needed edge help. They needed help at the edge really, 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 really bad. And they had the 9th pick or 8th pick, and they took Michael Penix Jr., which I don't like the pick from. I don't like Michael Penix Jr., but that's going to be its own. That might have to be its own rant. The Kirk Cousins and then Michael Penix draft pick. But the big thing is, you have the top 10 pick, and you just signed a quarterback. Fill a position of need. Get a blue chip player in a position of need that can help you win now. And you could have drafted Jared Verse. You could have drafted Dallas Turner. You could have drafted Leatu Latu. There's guys there on the board. I think we're better prospects than Michael Penix Jr. that you could have taken to help your team win now. That could have been an impact player right away, and you took a quarterback, which maybe they know more than we do, but only time will tell. But edge is still a big issue in Atlanta. And the other big thing here is, can they stay healthy? Can Kirk stay healthy? Can his offensive line stay healthy? I know they didn't have very many injury issues, to my understanding. I could be wrong on that. But, with Kirk Cousins coming back and how good these pieces are on offense, this team can't afford to have one go down. So if they stay healthy, they play well, this team is going to go win 9 games. They're going to make a playoff game. And as a Falcons fan, that's all you want to see. That's what you're hoping for. That's what you're expecting. And that right there is why the Falcons are going to go 9-8. But now we got to get to Tampa. So at Tampa Bay, I have them also finishing 9-8. Did they regress? No. Did they retool a little bit? Yes. They lost a couple pieces. They got a couple pieces. But the big thing is the offense is going to be mostly the same. You signed Baker Mayfield. He's coming back. You re-signed, oh my goodness, Mike Evans. Excuse me. So it's drying out on me. Chris Godwin's going to be back. Trey Palmer's going to be back, although they drafted a receiver in this draft, and I think right now in Tampa he's competing to be the third string receiver. I think he's the starter right now, so good for him. You extended Tristan Wirfs. Cody Moss coming in for year 2. You drafted Graham Barton out of Duke. I really like that pick because of his versatility. And you have a offense that's mostly the same, improved. Along with that, oh yeah, you drafted Bucky Irving out of Oregon. Love that pick in the 4th round. Perfect compliment to Rachaad White, in my opinion. So the Bucs had a good draft. They retooled a little bit. I don't think they overachieved. But here's my X factor. It's Liam Cohen, their new offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator at the University of Kentucky, and his offense, he ran a pro-style offense over there, which probably helped influence him to get an offensive coordinator job. But how is he going to work with Baker Mayfield? How is he going to work with the offensive pieces around him? And I'm assuming with the addition of Bucky Irving, my guess would be inclined to believe that, sure, they're going to have a lot of, this offense is probably going to be pass-based, but there's going to be a strong emphasis on the running game, more than we probably expect it to. And we're going to see a lot of utilization of both of those running backs in the backfield and a bunch of different ways, play action. Like I said, it's going to be a pass-first offense probably, but I think this running game is going to be a lot more of a factor than most people probably expect. But the big thing is, we're going to see what this Bucs team is made of. And also with that, Todd Bowles. First year as a head coach, they barely got into the playoffs. Second year, they won the division. They finished off strong after a really bad start to the season. And they won a playoff game. And, it's time to see, can this team put it together, be consistent, and be a playoff team? And I can't remember if the Bucs make the playoffs in my predictions or not. I'll have to go through it because while I was making the schedule, some things changed around, but I don't think they do. But I think that might be okay. As long as the offense and defense are fine and they have their moments, they play good. As long as nothing is bad, let's give it another year. Let's see how this thing can be built. But for now, Bucs going 9-8, and we're gonna see just how good this team and this coach really is, for sure. Probably not the best comment, but someone will probably trash me for that. I get it. Now we got to get to the Carolina Panthers, 3rd place, going at 7-10. And the big thing you want to talk about with Bryce Young is that, his pieces, the pieces that are built around him, are a lot better. You got Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen's still there. He's a veteran, but he's still going to make some plays here and there. You drafted Xavier Legette in the 1st round, which I thought was a big reach, but he is insanely talented. So there is that. He has that going for him. And then Jonathan Mingo is also there. I saw on the depth chart he's projected to be the 3rd receiver, he's projected to be the 4th receiver, but I don't really know how well that's going to go. I mean, he was very underwhelming last year, but he is still young. He is still talented. And the head coach, the move to to get Dave Canales as your head coach, I like it. He's a young offensive mind. I mean, he's the reason or the backbone behind Baker Mayfield's career resurgence in Tampa last year. But that was only 1 year. Was it a flash in the pan? We don't know. It'll be the only time will tell. But I like that the Panthers got a offensive head coach and got these pieces to build around Bryce Young. They believe in Bryce Young. They want him to be good. And you know what? And I think Bryce Young's going to be good this year. He's going to step up. He's going to make plays. While this offense is probably going to struggle a little bit, the offensive line wasn't great last year. And this might be another one where I'm selling short because the defense was really good last year. The defense is always really good, surprisingly. But I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. The pieces are not, all the way there yet. But next year could be a time where they take a big step up because, I like the pieces that they have now. But also, they added a lot of offensive pieces as well. They drafted Jonathan Brooks along with Xavier Legette. Now, Jonathan Brooks, he's injured right now. He tore his ACL with a few weeks left in the college football season. He's very talented, more talented than any of the running backs they have on the roster right now. And They got the linebacker Trevin Wallace. I thought he was a top 3 linebacker prospect. I think he went fourth or third, I think. But I thought he was a really good prospect. And then they drafted Jatavion Sanders, who I thought who's going to be a steal. I thought he was a second round talent. It was a receiving ability, but I like the pieces that they got and the building around him. And there's a lot of unknowns to this offense, which is why I have them finishing 7-10. While I expect him to be better, I think they'll be better. It's still an unknown, so we'll kind of see what happens. But the Carolina Panthers, 7-10. All right, I gotta drink water. If I don't drink water, my mouth dries out. I'm gonna have to deal with it, and I don't know how much time are we at. I'm gonna make a jump cut real quick. Okay, we're back. It's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment period right here, but I'm pretty sure I'm still kind of lined up, and we're 30 minutes in, 31 minutes in, and we still have to. We're not even halfway done. We're almost halfway done. We'll run over the Saints a little bit quicker just because. But here's the thing: Saints 6-11. Big thing here is Dennis Allen needs to go. Please. He's not a good head coach. He's a reflection of just trying to keep the culture the same when it lived and died by Sean Payton, and Sean Payton's not here anymore. He was a head coach before with the Raiders, was awful. Like, it's not uncommon to say that he's the worst head coach in the NFL. Do I believe that? Probably. It's there. I mean, I have to do a whole evaluation to make sure, but I'd buy into it if you told me that. I would say, okay, I believe it. So that's a big thing for the Saints. And the thing is, there's nothing here that gets me super excited. I mean, Alvin Kamara is a great player, and I enjoy watching him play. That's there. So sure, he gets me excited. And Chris Olave. But outside of that, what is there? Then on defense, your top players are aging. Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu and Cameron Jordan, they're all in their 30s. I mean, they're going to, realistically, they're probably going to be slowing down here soon. Hopefully not, but they could be. That's a possibility. Their cap situation is a mess every single year. And the thing is, overall, it reflects this team being in purgatory. They're not good enough to make the playoffs and compete, but they're not bad enough to get a top 10 pick that they so desperately need to start rebuilding this team. And the other thing is, the rest of the division got better. The Bucs are still the Bucs. The Falcons got better. The Panthers got better, and and that's why the Saints team that really hasn't changed much roster wise, that won 9 games the previous year, is going to finish worse off because a lot of teams got better over the offseason, and they really didn't. And the thing is, with their cap situation, they're not really able to. So I never want to root for a team to just be bad because that's not good for the players. It's not good for the coaches. I never want to openly root for a team to fail. But with all due respect, let this team die. Let them finally get an opportunity to rebuild this team properly. Try and make inway to get out of the salary cap, HE double hockey sticks that they're in. Let the players, let some players go, and let's get a top 10 pick, and let's start rebuilding this team from the ground up. Because the ghost of Sean Payton still exists. Let him go. The ghost of Drew Brees is still there. Let him rest. Let this team get a new era. Let the Saints march in to a new era. Get a rebuild going. Please. Oh, the overall. I forgot about these. They're like little blips at the end. But here we go. So the overall for the division is that this is Atlanta's division to lose right now, but they will be neck and neck with Tampa. Bryce Young will show flashes of greatness, and they got a few really, really nice and convincing wins, and New Orleans just hits rock bottom. That's the overall for this thing here. I'm probably going to not talk about those. I mean, I'm sure you get the gist of it as I'm talking. So, well, for the next divisions, scratch it. But now we got to get to the NFC East. And I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the division at 12-5. I have them bouncing back. And I have them bouncing back for 2 reasons. One, they had a good draft. Their big issue was the secondary, and you know what they did? They drafted Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I know Cooper's hurt right now, but they had holes, and they addressed it. You did lose Hassan Reddick, which is tough, but over there in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Over in New York right now with the Jets, he's holding out. He wants a new contract, which that's a whole different situation. But hey, you know, he wanted a new contract. You didn't want to ship him off, and guess what? Now he's probably going to get traded again. So we'll see. But the other thing too is with the secondary being addressed is that your depth is still there. You still have great depth at receiver. You still have great depth on your defense overall, and that's supplemented with with these coordinator hires. I love the hiring of Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. They're a huge upgrade from the coordinators they had last year, and I think this offense is going to be better than last year. I mean, not that it was bad, but they had the big collapse and fell off, and I think there's going to be more consistency. I think the defense is going to be top 5 again projected. I think it's going to be. I mean, this defense is still really, really loaded despite the issues in the secondary. And will the secondary hold them back? Maybe, but I mean that's why you get Vic Fangio, because Vic Fangio is a brilliant defensive mind to help develop these young players and get them ready to go and play well, be the best they can be. And that's why I have the Eagles finishing 12-5. They still have a top 5 roster. They still have elite players everywhere on their roster, and I have no reason to believe that they're going to take a step back at all. I think they're going to get better. They're going to finish 12-5 and be the second seed in the NFC. Now we get to Dallas. Oh, Dallas. This one I'm most likely selling short, but I have reasons to believe that they're going to finish 9-8. Now, the team that constantly performs really well in the regular season and jokes in the playoffs, why would I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing 9-8? Well, oh, I don't know. Dak needs a new contract. Micah Parsons needs a new contract. And CeeDee Lamb needs a new contract, and he is not even there. And you saw a social media post recently, or where Jerry Jones said they're not in any hurry to get the contract done. Looks like a couple of those players are going to have to leave because the Dallas Cowboys, they don't have the money to sign all 3 guys. I don't even know if they'll have the money to sign 2 of these guys. And you know what's going to happen? I think Dak's going to get the big contract, reset the quarterback market. It's going to be a stupid amount that he doesn't deserve, because not because you don't deserve it as a person, because Dak Prescott is not that great of a quarterback compared to the top talents in the league, but he's going to get paid like it. So you know what? We already know what's going to happen. So let's prepare for it. So here's the thing: you're going to lose Micah Parsons probably. At this point, I think CeeDee Lamb is done. I think he's gone. And then you just have to trade. If you're not going to give him a contract anytime soon, he's not going to show up anytime soon. And so I think you just need to get rid of him and he's done. He's gone. Go to a new team and let it go. So that's going to cost them a couple wins. So that's the big thing. And also, they did nothing in free agency to supplement their losses. They did nothing. They did literally nothing. Didn't Jerry Jones say that they were going to go all in this year? Does all in mean not doing anything? Because, if that's what that means, look at Cowboys going to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. But they're not. They didn't do anything. They literally did not do anything. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Commanders have a rookie quarterback, a new head coach, and the Giants are just awful, I would have them finishing lower. I would have them finishing less wins. But thank God the rest of the division below them, is still working things out. Right? The thing is, Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat. With all this stuff swirling around the roster in this team, Mike McCarthy's on a hot seat. He's the epitome of Dallas. He's the face of Dallas's regular season greatness and playoff awfulness for the past few years now. And, I could be wrong here. Dallas may win 10-plus games and make the playoffs, and Dallas does what Dallas does. But if this team finishes 9-8 and misses the playoffs, and they end up losing a couple of their foundational pieces on their team, I think that Jerry Jones is going to be fed up. I think Mike McCarthy is going to be out of here, and I think it's going to be a new era in Dallas where this might be the next team that goes into purgatory. It might be, but that remains to be seen. All right, we got through 2 teams in a row without having to drink water. We're cooking right now. We're cooking right now. Now we got to get to the Washington Commanders. I have them finishing 6-11, and the big thing is the roster still has some holes that needs to be filled. And the next thing too is I don't like the hiring of Dan Quinn as head coach, but this is a settling move. You had to settle for Dan Quinn as your head coach because if you didn't know, Ben Johnson did agree to become the head coach of the Washington Commanders, and last minute he backed out and decided to stay another year as the OC in Detroit. He pulled out a little Josh McDaniels and the Colts type of situation, but they had to scramble. They had to find another option until they hired Dan Quinn, the guy that had a lot of success in Atlanta, went to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. We know what happened, but you get a veteran head coach with experience winning, and I guess for now, I don't like that you hired a defensive head coach and you drafted a quarterback, Jaden Daniels, second overall. I don't get it. I'm sure there was other offensive head coach candidates out there that you could have gotten, but oh man, like this losing Ben Johnson and hiring Dan Quinn, that just feels like a massive letdown. It feels like a massive letdown. I mean, you had your guy, and you had to settle for someone else, and now you're stuck with him for the next few years, and you're stuck with an offensive coordinator developing Jaden Daniels, doing well, and then leaving. And but getting to Jaden Daniels though, let's look at the good. Let's look at the positives here. The offensive weapons are nice. They're not great, but they're nice. You signed Austin Eckler. You have Brian Robinson. The backfield's going to be good. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. You drafted Luke McCaffrey. I love Jamison Crowder, and I think Jamison Crowder's there. Jamison Crowder, I think. And then, of course, De'Ami Brown. I like the depth at receiver as well. You signed Zach Ertz to be a tight end. He's older, but I'm sure he'll give you something. The offensive line, you added some pieces there, some starters to help solidify this line. It's still probably not going to be great, but it's not going to be the abysmal mess that it was last year either, and that counts for something, I guess. And, the other thing, too, is Jaden Daniels is a rookie quarterback. He's going to, just like Caleb Williams, Drake May, and all the other ones, it's going to take some time. He's going to have some mistakes. But I think the Commanders, at the end of the year, they're going to have, a couple really good wins against really good opponents. And I think, as long as Jaden Daniels looks good, this season will be a success for the Washington Commanders. And now we got to get to the New York Giants. And I'm going to have to drink some water for this one. This one's going to take a little bit of time. Maybe, I think. I don't know. Okay. Where do I start with the Giants? How do I start talking about the New York Giants finishing 4-13? How? Tell me how. This offense is awful. It is straight up awful. The the pieces on offense, skill position players are It's a lot of wait and see or garbage. Daniel Jones, Daniel Dome Dibadome is not good. You can never convince me that he is good. And here's the hot take, Garrett, coming out right now, and that he is not good. His career year, he threw 15 touchdowns, 18 touchdowns. He didn't break 20 touchdown passes in his career year. Sure, they won a ton of games, made the playoffs, but what did he do? Oh, not much, because the engine that ran that offense was Saquon Barkley, and he's in Philly now because you paid the wrong guy. And now you have Daniel Jones, who is now injury prone, mind you. So now you have that to add on to the resume. And Devin Singletary is your running back one. No. I like Devin Singletary as a complimentary back, but he's shown he cannot be a feature back. He can't. And along with that, the wide receiver core. I want to love it. I want to be excited for it so bad. But I can't. Malik Neighbors is a rookie, super talented, and I'm sure he's going to be fine. But past that, Jalen Hyatt, very talented going into year 2. We'll see. But he didn't show enough last year that was very convincing. Darius Slayton, he's a perennial 700-yard receiver. he'll be okay. That's fine, I guess. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, he had a better year in year two, so you would hope that he would step up in year three. But there's nothing here that I can just be confident about. It's all of wait and see, or oh, they'll be fine. Like there's nothing here that tells me, oh, this offense is gonna be good. On top of the offensive line being historically bad last year, and of course I know that makes a difference. But then you go to look at what they added. They didn't add any stars. They added starters. They added guys that just started a ton of games, which helps and will make an improvement. But there was star players, offensive linemen in free agency that you could have gotten, and I don't think they did enough to solve that issue. As bad as it was, there was other teams that we'll get to later on that had really bad offensive lines, and they did a ton to fix it. But phone ringing. Sorry if I don't know if you guys heard that. Sorry if you did. But this offense, I can't get excited for it. And what's crazy about this offense is that it's built very similarly to Kansas City. Like if you look at the pieces that they have, they're almost entirely identical, which is crazy to think about. Because when you think about it, they have the veteran receiver, that's fine. Hollywood Brown, Darius Slayton. You have young dynamic talents in Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, and Xavier Worthy, and they have like Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson. And a running back that, Isaiah Pacheco is much better than Devin Singletary, of course, but they're both tough, hard, physical runners. Well, wait, no, Devin Singletary is not a tough physical runner, is he? Oh no. Hmm. Well, someone tell me in the comments. My mind just hard blanked right there. Oh man. But anyways, back to the case in point. Off skill position wise, the pieces of at least at wide receiver are very similar. They're almost entirely identical, like I said. But the thing is, talent wise, they're not that far off either. You would think. And that's crazy to say, but I mean, because you have Isaiah Pacheco, because you have Patrick Mahomes, I'm more inclined to believe in the Chiefs. I'm more inclined to believe that these players are going to be better. Because ultimately, the big issue for me is quarterback. If they got a better quarterback in there, I'd feel more comfortable about it. But the offensive line is still not, I don't think it's still going to be very good. Quarterback is going to be an issue. And in turn, these offensive skill players are not going to be good because everything else around them is not good. So the big part of your offense that's supposed to be the focal point and like the highlight of your offense isn't going to get the most out of them because everything else is lacking and just not as good. And along with that, the defense has good pieces. I like their defense. They traded for Brian Burns, which is good. You add that with Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, and you have a defensive line that's actually scary to think about. And that's crazy. That's crazy. The Giants that's going to go 4-13. They're going to have one of the best defensive lines in the league, at least on paper as of now. But I think they're going to be one of the best in my opinion, which is crazy to think about. And the DC hire of Shane Bowen. I don't like it. I simply don't like it. In Tennessee, he had his good moments. He had a really good red zone defense. Third down defense was good at certain points. But here's the thing. The philosophy of Shane Bowen was stop the run and first and then prevent the pass. And it's a passing league. Look at their division. They got a young quarterback. The commies. 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 Oh no. The Commanders. They got a young quarterback that's talented and can throw. Dak, whether you like him or not, he can throw. Jalen Hurts, whether you like him or not, he can throw. And you get a defensive coordinator that's supposed to stop the run. Well, if you're playing Dallas, okay, you're going to be okay. Dallas isn't getting a single yard playing the Giants because they don't have a good running back. But they're not facing the Dallas Cowboys every week. And I think that philosophically, they should have got a better defensive coordinator that could, stop the pass and help the secondary. The defensive front's going to be good. Like, it's going to be really good. Shane Bowen's defenses have always had really good fronts. But I don't know. I just don't know. I don't like it. I'm not enthused by it. But who knows? We could be wrong. There's always that possibility. But for the Giants, I have them finishing 4-13. I do not like this offense at all, and the defense still has holes, and that's why they're going to finish where they're going to finish. Yeah, told you I was going to take some time talking about the Giants because the Giants just get me so sad. I love Brian Daboll as a head coach. I think he's a great coach, but I think he's going to end up being fired because the pieces around him simply aren't good, and they made some bad decisions. And that's the thing, you can be a great coach, but if you can't build a roster, if you can't develop players, you're going to be out the door. And unfortunately, I think Brian Daboll will be out the door. Whether that's entirely his fault or not, we'll see. We'll just have to see what happens. But now we got to get to the NFC West. We're almost done. Yay, we're almost done. But with the NFC West, 49ers are going 10-7. They're going to win their division. And Super Bowl hangovers are a thing. But are they going to suffer a big Super Bowl hangover? No. I think they're going to be fine. Obviously, I have them finishing 10-7. Is it 13 wins? No. But 10 wins is still going to be enough to win this division and make the postseason. Because ultimately, here's the deal. They still have a top 5 roster. They have great weapons. They have a great coach. They're going to be fine. But here's why I think they're going to lose a couple games. I mentioned the Super Bowl hangover, which it exists. It's real. We'll see how much it affects. It's a placebo, but we'll see. And the thing is, they lost some pieces. They lost Eric Armstead. They lost a couple more. Their depth is not as great. But the big thing here is, like the Dallas Cowboys, what do they have? The contract drama. And right now, Brandon Ayuk had demanded a trade. I actually, at the time of the recording of this video, I think they reopened negotiations to figure it out because a trade actually was confirmed to go to Cleveland, and for Brandon Ayuk, or the Browns would get Brandon Ayuk, and the 49ers would get Amari Cooper, a second and fifth round pick, but Brandon Ayuk turned it down because the quarterback situation being like the big reason why he didn't want to go, which we'll get to that later. We'll get to, well, not later. We'll get to it in the next video, AFC predictions. I'm recording these back to back to back, so I think you get it. But they reopened negotiations, so hoping that gets done. But Trent Williams, their left tackle, is also holding out. He wants a contract extension. And, oh boy. If you ask a 49ers fan, they'll tell you that Trent Williams carried that offensive line. Do I believe that? I'll have to watch, more 49ers games to get that answer for myself. But that's what I've heard 49ers fans talk about. And if you lose Trent Williams, that could be very problematic. And so the big thing for the 49ers right now is they got to get those two guys locked in somehow. They got to get it figured out. And unfortunately, I don't know if they can. One of these players might have to go. But if they do, and along with the pieces they already lost, they still have a top 5 roster and they'll be mostly okay. But that's why I'll have them going 10-7 and losing a couple games. But now we got to get to the Rams, who are also going to finish 10-7. They're going to be neck and neck with each other. And the reason why I think the Rams are going to go 10-7 is because they added to their defense. They added Tre'Davious White in free agency, which when he's healthy, he's a really good corner. They drafted Jared Verse. They drafted his teammate, Braden Fisk. They added on to what was a surprisingly strong defense last year, at least on the defensive line in the front, which you got to like. And they got a lot, and likewise, like I said, they got a lot out of their guys, which I have faith in Sean McVay. I have faith in their coaches to be able to develop players. They proved it. They took a roster, which I thought last year they were going to win only 5-6 games, something like that. I thought they were going to take a step back last year. And you know what? They stepped up and they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs and they almost beat Jared Goff and the Lions, which that game week 1 is going to be so much fun to watch. But they did a lot, and I have faith in their coaching staff. And injuries are a factor right now. They are one of the most injured teams at the moment in time, so we'll have to see, how healthy they are. Puka Nacua is week to week, and I think a rookie or two is also hurt. But that's only preseason. By the time of recording this video, preseason week 1's going on right now, so there's still a couple weeks. We'll see. It's not going to be that issue, but overall, the Rams have a really good roster. They have good weapons, a good head coach, and given how well they played last year, surprisingly, it's hard to count them out. It's hard to count them out. So that's why I have them finishing 10-7 and being neck and neck with the 49ers. And they are also going to make a playoff appearance. Then we get to the Seahawks, who are 8-9. So this one, when I did the prime predictions, I had them finishing 8-9, and I was like, okay, that's fair. But then I went back and I looked at their roster, look at what they added in free agency and the draft, and this is another one which I'm probably going to be wrong about. But 8-9. So why did I pick the Seahawks to go 8-9, despite the roster looking a lot better than I initially thought it would be? Well, first things first is they have a rookie head coach, a new offensive coordinator, and a new defensive coordinator. So this is going to take time. So it's a rookie head coach. Are they rookie coordinators? I don't know if they're rookie coordinators or they've done it before, but they're new. They're new regardless. So it's all going to take time. It's going to take time to process. It's going to take time to gel. Sorry, I was checking my mic, making sure it was still working. But that's something that's going to take time. It's going to take time to gel. I've talked about that. Like I said, this is another one where I could be really wrong. They could probably win 9-10 games. I mean, it's possible. I mean, Mike McDaniel is a great coach. Mike McDonald is a great defensive genius. He's young, so he has a better assumingly has a better understanding of what it takes to win on offense. And the Seahawks, the thing is, they've been mid for a while now. They've always won 7-8 games. I know they won 9-10 games a couple years ago and made the playoffs, but ever since Russell Wilson's left, they've kind of been in purgatory. They haven't been in purgatory like the Rams, like the Saints, or eventually when we talk about the Raiders in the next video. But it's kind of those. Well, I believe it when I see it. But likewise though, I'm very inclined to believe that they'll actually be better than the 8-9 record. This one just came out that way because, I mean, there was too many wins to go around, and that one's probably going to be one that's going to be definitely wrong. But you know what? We stick with it, and when I am wrong, if I am wrong, I will admit it. So that's really much I got to say there. Not much on the Seahawks, unfortunately. But we got to get to the Cardinals, which I have finishing 5-12. And the big thing here is the Cardinals. They still have holes on their roster, like the Giants, like the Saints. Well, maybe not like the Saints, but they're the team that has, we'll say, like the Giants. They're a team that has holes on their roster that needs to be filled. And the thing is, there's just too many wins to go around. I like Rich Gannon as a head coach. I like what he did at the end of the year. But this team still is a ways away from being able to compete, at least in my opinion. But they did do some good things. They had a big draft. They had a huge draft. They had drafted like 10 players, 10, 12 players, I think. They had the most draft picks, of course, especially in the top 100. And you know what? They made good of them. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. and they drafted Darius Robinson in the first round. I can't remember who else they added, but they were good pieces. They added a ton, and that stands for something. They added a couple of good pieces in free agency. I really like that they're moving Paris Johnson Jr., their first round tackle from last year, to left tackle. And I love that pick. He played right tackle last year. No, he's a left tackle. Put him at left and let him cook and go insane. I thought that he was the second best tackle prospect, but he went first. But he has the talent to do it. He has the talent to make it happen. So let's see it happen. They signed Jonah Williams in free agency at right tackle. I like it. Got to solidify that spot for a short period of time. And Rich Gannon, like I said, I like him. I'm not fully sold yet, but he's very promising. The end of last year was very convincing, or was pretty convincing. But overall, why I think, like I said, they have holes on their roster. Why I think they're going to win 5-12 or go 5-12. Defense still needs a lot of work, in my opinion. And offensive weapons are lacking. Kyler Murray will be back. He's good. They had drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to be good as a rookie. I just realized my mic was over here. Well, we'll see how bad that audio quality is. Maybe I could set it right there. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I just hope I didn't stop my video. Hold on, jump cut time. We are fine. We are perfectly fine. Sorry about that. But I like Kyler Murray. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I like James Conner. I like Cherry McBride. But outside of that, I think Michael Wilson's done for the year. I think he just suffered a season-ending injury. God bless him. Hope he gets better soon, if that's the case. But the offensive weapons are just lacking. They're not as good as you'd want them to be. And this is going to be another building year for the Cardinals. But hey, they got a couple of pieces in free agency that was good. They had a big draft. They got a ton of infusion of youth and talent into this roster. And while it may not equate to many wins now, next year it could equate to a lot more. And there's at least reason to believe that the Cardinals are on the up, are trending upwards. They are on the up and up. And we did it. We got through all 16 NFC teams. And those are my predictions for each one, of course. One more guzzle of water for the video to be over. And that's going to do it for me today. Let me know about what your thoughts are on the schedule prediction. Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you do all the jazz that every YouTuber tells you to do. Like, subscribe. You know the drill. Come on, please. Help a bro out. Help a bro out. I'm talking about football here for you guys. But that's it. I love you guys. And I will see you in the next one. Whoop-ah!